Well, I got one more accessory for my 50 cal BMG, and that's an airsoft called Limbsaver. There's actually two versions. One's called the Airsoft. This one says, you can see it reduces recoil by up to 70%. You need to, and if you did really reduce your recoil by 70% on a BMG, you're still going to be well over twice a 30-06. But that being said, that's not going to be too bad. You know, you don't want to be firing like something that's 6 times the recoil, felt recoil of a 30-06 into a shoulder that has a t-shirt on it with a serrated edge on your buttstock. So here it is. Let's see if I can get a little light on there. You can see how it is. This one's the Airsoft. They have two versions of the I think it's called Airsoft or AirTech. I think there's two different names for it, but there's two different versions of these types of buttstocks by Limbsaver, and I got the one that reduces recoil by 70%. It's a slip-on fit. Now, what I used on the A1 stock, I measured it first. It went on real easy. I just folded everything back, right, and folded it up, and even the sling swivel fits on there. It's just it's not a problem, which is good because I'm going to put a sling on here, and it's going to be very easy to install because the sling can go right here from that swivel all the way up, and there's a little, you can see it right here, if you see it right here, that there's a little bar right behind here that it'll go on. It'll loop right around that little bar. So that's perfect. And I have the weapon like you see on fire. The reason I do that is because there's no rounds in here. What I do is I release the pressure on the hammer. I always do that with any of these AR-15 set type systems, because I don't leave that hammer, because if it's on safe, the hammer has to be sprung down. If it's on fire, you can release the pressure on a hammer. Okay, that's why you always actually leave it that way. At least I do. You release the tension on the spring. So just to give you, and it has the flip-up sights. These are iron sights. Yeah, I'm going to double check the bore sighting on this again, but I already did bore sight it. They flip up like that, and they fold down out of the way. It has the Picatinny rail on it, which is, you can do the scope mount, but I am thinking about possibly, if I mount a scope, I'm probably going to leave these sights in place, possibly. Not really 100% sure how to do that, because I'd like to have it with the iron sights and the see-through rings on the scope, because if you break the scope, you still got sighting system. I generally do not like only a scope. I generally do not like that if I can avoid it. Again, these legs, you pull them down and they fold, pull them down and they fold out of the way. Again, this is where I can put the front part of the sling, and you can see how this went on. This went on nice. You see, it's up to the end of the buttstock. It just overlaps the sling swivel just slightly. So that's not a problem. It actually comes off fairly easy too. I mean, you could just peel this back, it'll come off. But I think that's going to provide a hell of a lot more cushion. You could feel this thing is like soft rubber. It might slide a little bit on the buttstock. If that happens, and if it's a problem, I'll put, I don't know, maybe I'll tape it on there or something with Munster tape or something. Maybe I'll do that. But for now, it seems to be fine. That's really the one thing I was kind of afraid of firing this thing, because I'll show you what it looks like here. It just pulls right off. Kind of thinking that might come off though. Here's the inside of it, but it's the right size. I measured it. It's a medium. That's the inside. See how it's like nice and all open like that. But you don't want to have this against your shoulder. This is actually feels almost pretty sharp, you know. I mean, for firing a 223, that's no big deal. That's nothing. 223 is nothing. 50 cal, crap. I never fired a 50 cal. We're going to find out. So anyway, that's what it is, the Limbsaver. Medium size. And I got, like I said, the AirTech or Airsoft version of it, which is the one that reduces recoil up to 70%, versus the other versions. The other versions are a snap-on variety, and they do not recoil. They do not reduce recoil as much. The one that slides over like this, you can see the brand name right there. Yeah, the ones that slide over like this that are slip fit, kind of a universal. They come in small, medium, and large. They'll reduce recoil a lot more. And like I said, if it does give me a problem where this kind of slips off, because it doesn't seem like it fits on there tight, but not extremely tight because it's very soft rubber, I'll just wrap some monster tape around here. And you know, I'm not somebody that's like you know, I look at a weapon as a tool. It's not something you stick and you look at like it's a piece of furniture or some crap. You know what I mean? And again, these pull down, go up like that. You got your bipod, which I consider totally essential. Magazines, they'll come out like this. You just turn this, push that out. They connect back there in this little nib, and you have in here, you have this thing that turns. You see that? That's what locks it in place. And that locks it in place on that right there, right on the end. 5-round magazine. So anyway, I figure that's something else that's pretty damn essential too, because this weapon is something like, it fires so much recoil. It's not like firing a 30-06 bolt action or a slide action. It's not like, well, I guess it would be more severe coil than, yeah, like a 12 gauge slug down will be more recoil than a 30-06. You know, especially if you're using like a pump action. This is several times recoil of a 12 gauge slug gun. So I figure I'm going to have this thing sitting on a bipod. And, you know, if I have to hold it offhand, well, I could fold back. I could fold these back and hold them maybe right about here and pull them back into my shoulder pretty hard. And I think with this, I should be okay. Got a pretty good, I think I am going to monster tape this on there. Gorilla tape it, excuse me. Gorilla tape it on there, because that looks like that's going to come loose. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now, because like I said, I don't give a damn too much about getting GQ about the weapon versus having it work reliably. So that's that, and that's in there again. And I got the nickel boron parts on here. Here's you can see I got to pull it, you know, pull a bolt back to put the safety back on, because the hammer has to be folded down to make the safety on. But I always, like I said, I always store the weapons with the hammer with no spring tension on it. So right now, I'm actually going to put some Gorilla tape on this and Gorilla tape this sucker on here, because I don't want that coming loose. And you know, the other thing is with Gorilla tape, you can also put what do you call it, sewing thread over it and tie it tight, and that tape will never come loose. It doesn't come loose as it is anyway, not Gorilla tape. So let me do that. Okay, so there it is. Gorilla tape. Also used some thread from, this is called the Speedy Stitch sewing awl. It's very, very, very strong thread. It's nylon and it's polyester wax coated. I went around the bottom here and across the top, so the thread can't slip off this way or that way, because this is going to the smaller area of the stock, and that would be held in place by the sling swivel. Then the other thing is, here's a sling on here. You got it down here, and it just wraps around up here. You can see up there. That's your sling. So it's got a sling on it. It's got a bipod. It's got a 70% reduction recoil Limbsaver. It's bolt action 5-round magazines, and it's got your flip up sights. So this works like this. Get the bolt action operates. It goes back into the buttstock. That's why you have to have the buffer spring out of there. Goes forward, and of course it's been empty. That's why if you have it, I could put it on safe now because the hammer is now into the sprung position, but I don't like leaving it that way. That's why I leave it on fire and I let that hammer go forward. You don't want to dry fire the weapon when there's no bolt in there with no firing pin, because that large hammer will go right smack against this aluminum receiver. And with that large hammer and that large spring in this 50 cal, because that's a different hammer and spring versus the standard AR lower hammer and spring, that would probably really hurt your lower. This is a mil spec 775 forged aluminum lower, so it's it's not the cheap stuff. It's what it's what you're supposed to use. Should hold up pretty good, but I was worried about me holding up firing this thing. So with that, actually now I'm not scared to fire it, because before I was thinking, man, that thing, brand new buttstock on the A1's got some sharp serrated edges. I don't care if you're wearing a t-shirt and 2 t-shirts, you're gonna feel that digging your skin pretty bad. This feels like this would really, I bet you it ain't gonna be too much more than a 12 gauge shotgun. So probably be pretty manageable. So there you go. That's what you need. And don't worry about, you know what, if you hate tape, what you could do is just glue it on there with, say, like rubber cement, something that kind of peels off, that would just stick it on there pretty good. But I don't really give a damn about tape, because taped weapons are, you see them around in weapons that are used, not weapons that are like shown on a shelf. And I guess the last thing, I don't think I'm going to get a scope right away for this, because I don't know about distance shooting right away. But whatever scope I get, I want to have these iron sights too, which might mean I'm going to have to add something to this stock to bring my cheek weld up a little bit. But considering that, if you have a scope and it's kind of high up, because I have the see-through rings, or maybe just a quick detach scope, maybe that'd be the deal. That might be the simplest thing, quick detach scope. So that'll be the final thing, but I'm not in a hurry for that, because I think the initial shots I'll be using for this is going to be about 100 yards. Iron sights will be plenty for that. And I'll probably get into reloading before I even freaking mess around with a scope, because I want to reload these babies. But yeah, good old Gorilla Tape, or Monster Tape as I call it sometimes. Good old Gorilla Tape, man. And Speedy Stitcher thread. That'll keep that. This tape won't unravel anyway, but with this thread over it, forget about it, man. It's never going to unravel, so it's on there forever. And it's going to keep this thing in place, because it's such a soft, even though this thing slips on there tight, this thing is such a soft material. With this kind of recoil, I think this thing would slide off. So not with this though. This should be fine.